Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Digital Gate Studios production. Justin, I had to have you on for this this deck profile because at the start of the format, I was going to make it my mission to make Sukamon and Numemon playable decks. But something happened in between that, and it was the Japanese national tournament.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about this Numemon stuff.
Well, the Numemon list in Japan had only a couple new additions with the future cards. It's the Ukamon and the Louis. But other than that, we already had a lot of the cards to make the deck.
Mm-hmm.
And if it tops a national event, well, gotta try it.
So I had to have you on because I was going to build Numemon and Monzon regardless.
Yeah.
But it just so happened that you were like, Basil, have you seen this Numemon deck? And I was like, I've been looking at these cards for 3 formats, brother. And it just so happens that it turned out to be a potential sleeper pick in the BT15 format.
Not only sleeper pick, but I think it's very good.
That's sort of the idea. So I wanted to have you on because this is not just a for fun deck profile, but something that you should watch out for, even at regional tournaments. And we're going to jump right in with the Digitama, starting with EX4 Sunomon. So when one of your other Digimon Digivolves draw one, obviously made for the Omnimon Alter S Jogress deck.
Because they go
they
build
go
up a stack
Agu to
pair,
Greymon, Greymon to the Garurumon, etc. But as it turns out, in this deck, a lot of the times you're hard playing Numemon.
Yeah.
You're not really going to go on top of your rookie in the raising and build a stack that way. So this is a perfect way to promote your rookie. A lot of our rookies we don't want to cover up anyway. We'll get into that in a second.
It's one of the rare cases too where Pagumon doesn't feel as good in a black deck. And a lot of the black eggs in recent memory, I'm pretty sure just in general, don't draw cards very well.
Yeah, black decks, black eggs are either specific to a tribe, like the Dorimon with the Exani body, or Koromon with the Agumon. Or they're bad.
Yeah,
so
they have a very specific condition.
So the Sunomon is actually perfect for this deck. That being said, we are running the 5th egg, which is the new the Tokomon on deletion if it's your opponent's turn, draw one. This card is quite good because a lot of our rookies are going to promote and then stare our opponents in the face and say deal with it. And so that is going to force them, if they're not a bounce or bottom deck style deck, then they're going to have to kill it eventually, and that's going to give us that draw one.
Yeah, and turns out if you have 5, if you play Ukamon, which we kind of talked about it, spoilers from the Japan list, you need 5. You need 5 eggs.
Yeah,
you're gonna run out.
So we're running that 5 eggs. We'll jump into the rookies, and we're playing a ton of them because it's an aggressive deck. The first is Structure Deck Agumon from the new black Structure Deck. Start of your main if your opponent has a Digimon, gain 1. As well as the inheritable, a little bit less relevant, but still comes up when an attack target is switched, gain a memory. This card is quite good. You've seen me play it in decks like Machine Dramon. I really like it in that deck. I like it even more in this deck. A lot of the times, because we're so aggressive, we're going to be baiting our opponent out of the breeding area, and then we're going to be able to get that 1 memory.
Yeah, it turns out a generic gain 1 memory from both its face and inherit is quite good.
Yeah.
And I think this card is going to be here for a while. So
agreed. As well as it doesn't have the stipulation 1 on anything that's not a Koro.
It's just free.
It's just free. The aforementioned Ukamon is at 4. Like I said, this is a very heavily aggressive deck. Basically a rookie rush, depending on your opinion on 2K level 4s. But the Ukamon obviously speeds up the deck tremendously. And this deck, believe it or not, is one of the biggest advocates for get Ukamon on the banned and restricted list.
Yeah.
It's quite strong. It's a 0-cost Evo, gain 1 and hatch an egg. It's quite good.
It's pretty crazy how this card still, even without the new Louis and Ukamon in future sets, just this card alone speeds up the deck a lot.
Yes.
And if you can imagine in the future, if we have 8 copies of a card that says get an extra breeding phase, right? Yeah. Ukamon will forever be good until they get him to 1, which he'll still be good. You just splash him.
You'll just put that one in. When I mentioned earlier about the Sunomon, we want to promote rookies and have them stare at our opponent. Ukamon is the biggest culprit, And the second culprit is 3 and 3 on the floodgates, Chu and Chikurimon. Chumon, obviously, memory floodgates are timeless. The Chikurimon is a little bit more specific because we are going extremely wide in this deck.
Super wide.
So Death X is a major problem for the deck. Not a lot of Digicross strategies have survived all the way to BT15, but for those of them that are still running around, this is quite good.
For sure.
And then the last rookie is sort of the flex spot in the deck. This could be a lot of things. We were toying around with the 2-drop Commandramon, just as a 2-drop cheap rookie to play. Some lists were playing other things. What we ended up on is the Security Dorumon. This card is pretty interesting because it's going to land on everything that is level 4 and under besides the Ukomon. So it has a ton of targets. As well as it's just another rookie to play. And black rookies don't really have that many options for generic rookies.
Yeah, I was talking to you.
We were
what are good level 3 rookies?
Justin over here doesn't really mess with black decks too often.
Not at all.
And the only black decks I've really messed with are Machine Dramon and D Brigade. And so the D Brigade rookies are obviously specific to D Brigade, and then Machine Dramon plays like 2 rookies tops. So the Security Dorumon is good. A lot of different things could go. You could also just go up to a play set of each of the Floodgate and be fine.
Perfectly fine.
Those 2-drop level, 2-drop Commandramons, as previously mentioned.
But you do want to actually play a lot of rookies. Ukomon tends to empty your hand out a lot, and you do want to actually push these rookies out, because the Sunamon draw is like one of your only ways to refill your hand in this deck, for sure.
So yeah, big rookie lineup for a very aggressive deck. And now we'll jump into the meat and potatoes of the deck, which is our Numemons. Starting off with the RB1 Numemon. This card is tremendous. It is, again, our searcher for the deck in air quotations. On deletion, flip 3, grab a Numemon in name and a Monzemon in name. That's a lot of the deck. As well as it doesn't trash the cards. It puts them to the bottom of the deck. And that's sort of the deviation from the Sukamon strategy. The Sukamon benefits heavily from cards being in the trash. This deck, not so much, although there is a few effects we'll get to a little bit later on. Then Inheritable, while this is a Monzemon or a Numemon, gain blocker.
Yeah, and that has weird synergy with the Agumon we mentioned.
It lines up with the Agumon, and a lot of the times we're going to be wanting our opponents to swing, and then we block to activate our on deletions. The first on deletion, which is the most prominent, and the new BT15, the Numemon X. If Apocalypse was not in BT15, this is the best card in BT15.
Yeah, this card is ridiculous.
This card is insane. So all turns, while Numemon or X antibodies in sources, this Digimon gains on deletion, play a card with Numemon in its name for free.
And the big, clarification is in its name.
Numemon in name.
So you can play.
Stay tuned.
You can play itself.
Well, that's one of the things, as well as Inheritable on deletion. Same effect.
Same effect.
Play a Numemon in its name from the trash.
This card was really good in pre-release.
This card is good in pre-release, and it's even better in constructed when we can play a bunch of Numemons. The last Numemon we're playing is not even a Numemon. It's Garymon. This card, however, does have the rule. This card is treated as Numemon. Pitch a Numemon, draw 2. Perfectly fine in this deck. Again, we're not as reliant on the trash as Sukamon, but we do need it for the Numemon X effect, as well as a way to fill up our hand with the Garymon.
On a side note, you could also play the Numemon that has on play, give something -1 security.
The BT15.
Yeah, that one isn't that bad, but this is a little bit more.
Yeah, we valued the card draw over the security attack minus because we have other ways of giving things security attack minus. So jumping into the level 5s, the first is the RB1 Monzemon. I hope and pray that you guys opened up some RB1 boxes because the rares were extremely hard to get. And if you don't have them by now, you're going to pay $80 for a playset.
Yeah, at the time of recording this, this Monzemon covers 2/3 of a RB set, which is I think the most a rare has ever sold for ever.
Yeah,
Cool Boys.
It's right up there with Quartzmon and Arrestadramon Superior Mode at the time of when they were released.
Yeah,
and so that's good company.
This is a rare, by the way, guys.
Yeah, those are SRs and these are rares.
So hope you
so
gotta play
so on play, you can tuck a Numemon from the trash to gain 2 memory, which is nice because we're going to gain blocker or the on deletion of the Nume X, as well as on play and when digivolving, give something -3k and security attack -1. So that's quite good. We're playing 2 more cards that are level 5 Monzemons, and this is the BT15 Waru Monzon. Once again, on play and when digivolving, you can trash a card with Numemon in its name to digivolve 1. De-digivolve is an extremely strong mechanic, as well as this deck has it in spades.
Yeah.
So very, very strong to have 2 of the strongest forms of removal in the game in de-digivolve and DP-, and we'll get some more of that a little bit later on. As well as on play, you can tuck a Numemon from the trash to make sure that play cost of 5 Digimon cannot attack.
Yeah, it's a weird protection, very reminiscent of like Alphamon and then playing Kongu to stall a turn, which does come up. So if you lose
in the more aggressive decks, this is going to sort of save you another turn. And then we said the Numemon X is the second best card in the set, right behind the Apoclymon, and this is in contention for the third.
Yeah, this card is also
the Monzemon X is incredibly strong. So it evos for 0 on top of either of our Monzemons, as well as just the 3 on our level 4 lineup. When digivolving, if Monzemon or X antibody is in sources, play a Numemon or a level 3 Digimon for free.
This is kind of another reason why we're playing so many rookies, is we do want to target, and a lot of times you're playing with 4 or 5 cards in hand in the middle of your turn, so you always want to target, and rookies are just another good thing, right? You can play a Floodgate, you can play...
Yeah, you can play a Floodgate, you can play an Ukamon, Agumon, or any of our Numemons. This one does specify Numemon, not Numemon in name, and that is important. We'll get to that in a bit. Then, all turns, when a Digimon is played, another Digimon is played, doesn't count itself. One of your opponent's Digimon gets -2k for every Digimon. So that doesn't sound like a lot. Okay, yeah, we're going to neg 4. And that's what your initial thought is. But once you play a little bit with this deck, you realize that you're negging 8, 10, 12, 14 a lot of the times.
I think
you go extremely wide.
I've
with
negged
this
22,000 before. Which is ridiculous.
You go extremely wide, extremely fast. And if your opponent doesn't have an answer on the spot, they're going to get completely overwhelmed.
Yeah, and if you have 2 of them at the same time, your neg 10k is now neg 20k.
Yes, and they do stack. And you're saying, oh, well, when are you going to get 2 level 5s on the board?
You'd be surprised.
Give the deck a try.
You'd be surprised. Also, another thing I want to note, this is rare for a level 5 with this much power in it. It costs 3 to evolve. That's really, really good. I'd expect something like this to cost 4, but
yeah.
And it can get cheaper.
As well as it's an 8k, and both of our level 5s called Monzemon are security attack +1. So 8k for 2 checks is only really going to die to level 6s and higher. So that is quite good. We'll jump into our level 6 Numemon, Platinum Numemon, one of the rare 9k megas in the game. It's on play and when digivolving, pitch a Numemon from hand to gain 2 memory. So realistically, it's a 1-cost level 6, as well as it does activate its on play. Then on deletion, play level 5 Numemon or Monzemon from trash for free. So, when I was reading you Numemon X, you were probably thinking, Numemon in name? Who cares? All of your Numemons are level 4s.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Right?
lied.
So we're going to be playing the Platinum Numemon for free. So we're playing a Mega for free, and then activating its ability and gaining 2.
So it floats on your opponent's turn. It negs their memory, so -2 memory.
That's right.
And then its secondary effect, that on deletion, this deck is really sticky.
Right. So let's say, for example, we have a stack that is Numemon X on top of a Numemon on top of a Monzemon with the Platinum Numemon. So let's say we've gotten there somehow. Great for us. We swing 9k, 2 checks. Okay, it dies on the first one because it's 9k, whatever. It's a 9k mega. It's going to die. We can resolve these effects in our order because it's the active player's choice. So we can activate the on deletion of the Platinum Numemon first to play out the Monzon. We're going to gain 2 memory from the Monzon, neg 3k something, and security attack -1. Then we can activate the Numemon X on deletion. Because the Platinum Numemon is already in the trash, we're not missing its on deletion effect.
Because we've already
play
resolved
out
it.
the Platinum Numemon for free again. You activate its on play to gain 2 more memory. So now we died with a Mega. We spat out a level 5 and a Mega, and we're +4 memory.
Which is
Not a lot of decks can boast that. So
Yeah.
that is quite good. Then we'll get into our last level 6, and it is not a card called Numemon. It's a Zulong Manon Ace from the EX set. This card is generically an insane Mega in yellow. You saw that most recently at the North American National Tournament in Security Control, featured with our local Security Control genius, Jesse and Ryan, both putting it in their lists. This card is amazing. You can counter on top of your Monzon or your Monze X. Does not work on Waru Monzon because it's mono black, but it does work on the other 8, excuse me. Then on plane when digivolving, bounce of level 5. On deletion, delete something. So it's perfect for the deck. A lot of people also won't be expecting it because they're thinking Numemon. They're not really
ace
thinking.
card does Numemon have,
Yeah, they're not
right?
really thinking about that ace. And there are a lot of times where you're just going to leave a Monzon X to end your turn.
Yeah.
And then this card is going to come out of nowhere.
Yeah, that card was interesting because it was inspired by the other list in Japan and other Asian countries because they played the Valkyremon. This is another card that we don't have, but this is a fine substitution.
Yeah, this is a very fine substitution. In any yellow and black deck, we're going to be playing 2 level 7s. So 1 Death X, 1 Ruin Mode. If you are one of our listeners who does not want to spend $50 for 1 card, I get it. I totally understand. They are extremely strong cards. I recommend having them in your decks, but if you don't have them, I get it. If you wanted to switch this up, add another Ace, add another Platinum Numemon, add in the Shin Monzon from the RB1 set, and just go from there. It's perfectly fine. That being said, these are 2 very good cards, so we put them in the deck.
Yeah.
A surprise in the deck, moving into the options, is the X Antibody Protoform. This was a card that when it first came out, I really didn't know how to evaluate it.
Because the old X Antibody was so
It's like old
good,
X Antibody is Ice Wall, free digivolving, an amazing when attacking not once per turn, all wrapped into 1 card. And so I was thinking, why would you ever play anything besides it? And the reason is X Antibody Protoform is going to activate, obviously, our Numemon X and our Monzon X. It's going to make Monzon X Evo for 2 on top of a Numemon if we're missing the other Monzons, as well as it's going to recover 1 and then grab back a rookie. So like we said, you run out of rookies a lot because you're going to be, obviously your priority is to Evo them, but then a lot of the ways to pass the turn, you're going to be dropping a Floodgate, dropping an Uko, another Agu, get a Security Dorumon out of your hand, whatever the case. So X Antibody Protoform is going to reload your hand with those rookies. Or if you're flooded with rookies, you need to grab back a Numemon. If you're into Platinum Numemon, you need your level 5 back. Whatever the case, you can just grab those cards back.
It's a weird deck because usually purple is the one that has all this recycle. They can get their cards back in ease. But Protoform is so generically good. I'm not going to be surprised if we see a lot more. On top of the fact that this deck is already memory efficient, the X Antibody cards, in my opinion, should have costed more, but they're the same as other cards. So Protoform is just an amazing addition, and it enables our deck. So
True. I was mentioning how Waru Monzon combined with the Monzon and Monzon X give you some of the best removal in the game in DP reduction, D-Digivolve, and DP reduction.
and then we have a Death X and a Ruin mode.
And then we have Death X and Ruin mode. And the sort of complement in the options slot is Trident Arm. So let's say there's a Mega that you can't DP minus all the way. It's a War Greymon, is 22,000 DP, whatever the case. Trident Arm takes it down to an Agumon, and it has to attack start a main. This is a card that I've really liked for a long time. In most recent Machine Dramon builds, you've seen it on the deck. It just didn't have room in War Greymon. There's not a lot of room for extra filler in that deck. But in a deck like this, Trident Arm is perfect. Most of the time, you're going to be able to answer your opponent's Digimon. But if they are up into 2 stacks, because we're quite offensive, we're not really answering the board necessarily. But if you can neg one and then Trident Arm the other, and then you have a blocker with the Numemon inheritable on top of a Monzemon, you're basically going to be deleting anything for 6 memory.
Yeah, and especially if you have a blocker, right? If you have the blocker inherit, sometimes they're gonna have to swing with the rookie, and it's just gonna get blocked.
Or they're gonna have to swing 1K or 2K into security, and that's not gonna work out. Even with as many rookies, they are gonna die a lot of the time. Last card in the deck is our 3 Tamers, Louis Iwata. In a rookie rush deck, if you throw in some Ukamons and throw in some Louis, you're doing all right.
Yeah.
And so that's the list. It's a deck that does not look very menacing when you look at these cards. But when you play against it, you will be overwhelmed turn 2 and turn 3 almost every game.
And if you don't have that very specific removal of bouncing or bottom decking, on deletions, this deck is so absurdly sticky. Nume X is an insane card, like you were saying. It's probably one of the best cards they printed this set. It doesn't look that menacing until you realize it recycles itself, you evolve on top of it again, and then you just do it over and over and over again. Protoform recycles all your resources. You get choked out of memory. It plays 2 very strong floodgates, and it's constantly pressuring you. And then when you finally build up a stack and you answer the board, you get Trident Armed.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy deck, and it's a lot of fun. This is a very weird mix.
It was, like I said, it was one of those decks we wanted to build. Oh, let's unwind from Nationals and play some Numemon. But as it turns out, it's a heater.
It's a heater for sure.
So thank you all so much for watching. We've got tons of deck profiles coming. A lot more BT15 stuff in the works. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.
We got it.